Hi guys, welcome to another video. In this video we'll learn all about groups and their isolation mode. So let's hop inside. I've just made some of these basic elements. Sorry, it's quite boring, nothing too interesting, but just for example's sake. To group, say I want to group these three, so I'm holding down shift to add on to my click, or you can otherwise just drag and click onto whichever objects you want. Then you go to object and choose group. From there, that will put all these three in one group. Or otherwise you can also right click on the mouse and choose group. Now it's ungroup because it's already grouped, but if it would be a group then you would choose there group. Otherwise you can always press on the keyboard shortcut Control or Command G. It's a very important shortcut to know. You'll be using it often. The reason why you would want to group an object is because, as you can see now that it's grouped object, whenever I click on any one of these elements within this group, the whole group will move as one piece. When I resize it, the whole thing will be resized. So any change I do will be done to this as if it's one object. Also, it refrains from me by mistake. Also, it refrains from me accidentally clicking or deleting an object, or let's say I move this to somewhere else and there's one small element, so that'll be included in this group and it'll all move as one whole piece. Now under the layer panels, that's there. If you haven't got it, go to Windows, Layers. From there you would see this as a group there. So you can see once you group it, then it becomes a group, and within this group there are all of those. Now this is very cool if you want to add to your group, so you can always go choose the object you want, and with shift or by dragging over them, press Control or Command G, that's a shortcut, that'll group these. But now this is actually a group within a group, because this is the first original group and now this is grouped after that. So there's one group of this, and then in that group you have that group. You can see that in the layer panels. We have this group, and then in there there's another group. That was our original group there. So you can always pull this layer over. We'll learn about the layers panel in the next lesson. You can group this into this, and now there is only one group, or otherwise you can pull out some, or you can pull it out of the group completely. Say I don't want this grouped whatsoever, so now once I click, this green one wouldn't be grouped at all, only these. Also, if you notice, they will all jump into one layer. So if you have this on a top layer, here we'll demonstrate with this one, you can see there it's on this layer. They will all go into the same layer. Once I group them, they'll go into one single layer. You can see it goes into all this is under this grouped layer, so it will jump to this group. To ungroup them, you can always go to object and choose ungroup from there, or otherwise right click ungroup, or the shortcut key is Control or Command Shift G. That'll ungroup the whole group. As you see, this is a group within a group, so I'll have to do that again for this group, and now that should be all ungrouped. Like we said before, when it's a group, I'll just regroup it. Sorry, I'm driving you mad. And once you grouped it, like we said, you can't change the color. You can see even the fill there, it's a question mark because it's considered like one element but with different colors. You won't be able to change anything with this regular selection tool. But any of the others, like we learned in the previous lessons, if you choose the direct or the magic wand or the group selection tool, the lasso tool, you would be able to choose any of these elements as if it's ungrouped completely. So you just have to be careful with it. Say this is one group like we showed. So now if I click with the direct selection tool, this will be a regular element as if it's ungrouped. So you just have to bear that in mind. You can see it's still grouped. When I click with the regular tool, this whole thing is like one group. Now in order to edit with this regular selection tool, or the V tool, that's a shortcut for that, you can go to the group you want to change and double click on it. That'll bring you into this isolation mode. So it's not a good example because I don't have any other objects. I'll just duplicate this. I'm holding down Alt or Option. That'll duplicate, and I'm ungrouping this. There you go. Let's just scale it down. Okay, so now we've got this is all isn't a group, and this is one group. So if I double click on this, you'll see I come into this isolation mode. You see any of the other elements or objects on my artboard is dimmed out. Only the one which I'm in is in a proper full color. What the isolation mode does is essentially it isolates that item which I clicked on and chooses it. Now I can play around with it as if it's ungrouped. If there was a group within a group, then I may have to double click once again to go into that. You can see now this is only isolated and all the rest are dimmed out. Now you can change this color and do whatever you want with that. And so in other words, to enter a group, you have to double click that, and to enter, if that's in a group, then you have to double click that, and so on. And then you just click once to choose one of the elements within the group. Now you can change everything as if it's ungrouped completely. You can see here on top the thread. This is layer 1, and underneath that there's the group, and then this rectangle. If you want to go back a stage, let's say I want to go back to the stage where all these were in the isolation mode, then you go to this, you can just press on that, or go to this arrow, and that will take you a stage back. So as you can see now, any of these are open here. A cool thing I don't think a lot of people know it, is let's say I'm in this isolated object. You can always rename the layers, by the way, so that you can know exactly which layer you're in. And I'm drawing here a new element, then this will be joined in that group because I've drawn that in this layer. So once I exit this isolation mode, you'll see this will all be grouped together. Let's just put it down there. Then you'll see it's all, sorry, this thing, if you see it, it happens sometimes, it's just a bug. So this element will be joined in that same layer as which I've drawn it within. To exit the isolation mode, you can double click in any empty area. Otherwise, you can always press on this gray line along the anywhere empty. You can just press on it once, that'll exit it. Or you can press the shortcut escape, or you can go back until you come out of the isolation mode. Now you can see, like I told you before, this will be one group. You can see that joined together with that because I drew that shape while this was in isolation mode. You could also enter an isolation mode by pressing on this small icon there on top. Then that'll bring this whole thing into isolation mode. Also, if you have a group within a group within a group, instead of just double clicking every time, let's just do that, and I'll Control G, I group that, and with this Control G. So now let's say I want to get into these, I'll have to double click and double click again, double click again, double click again. Now finally I got to this. You can see how many stages this has been through, right, to get to this step, because it's a group within a group. So instead of that, there is a much easier way. You can go to the direct selection tool or any of those tools and choose it. Like we said, that this doesn't differentiate between a grouped item or not, so you can choose any of these objects and then right click, isolate selected path. That'll bring only that into the isolation mode. You can see it's been through this whole thread, what it's called, and takes you right to the place. Otherwise, you can always enter that from the layers panel. You can choose, say I know where that is, I can just press locate, that'll bring me, you can see this long thread, and you can go to this options here and choose enter isolation mode from there. That'll do the same thing. So that's basically it, quite simple and straightforward. I'll give you one last tip. If you don't want this isolation mode, say it's annoying every time you double click, you suddenly go into the isolation mode, or the opposite, if you want to get it and you don't have it, go under edit, or in a Mac will be under Illustrator, preferences. In general, you'll see there is the option here, double click to isolate. So if it's unchecked, you can always check it, or otherwise if it disturbs you, then you can keep it unchecked and that wouldn't enter isolation mode by double clicking. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me on this video. I hope you gained something. If you did, please give a like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave any of your comments or questions, tips, ideas in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.